Good day, my friends, and welcome to The Law and Life. I'm your lawyer, Patrick McGeehan, and I am your best friend at your worst time. One question I get asked fairly frequently is how has your law practice changed since the pandemic, and how has being a lawyer changed since the pandemic? Well, it's changed big time for me, but let me take you back to a time before the pandemic started. When I first became a lawyer, in the first few years I was in private practice, I was in the office all the time, Monday through Friday, a lot of times on the weekends, all day, 12, 16 hours a day. And then over the years, as the staff grew and the law practice grew, I began spending less and less time in the office. My staff also began working at home more. Just before the pandemic, we were averaging maybe 1 or 2 days in the office per week. And then when the pandemic came around, they shut my office building down completely, so we had to go completely remote. And fortunately, we were already headed that way, so it was a very easy step for us to go full remote. And we did it pretty seamlessly, didn't miss a beat. There were some slowdowns in the court because of the court system, but our office was up and running and we didn't have any delays in processing our cases or getting our filings done or what we needed to do. We were delayed because we had to wait for the courts to catch up, but eventually they caught up somewhat and began scheduling hearings again. They're still backed up and they'll probably be backed up for years because of all the time that they took getting up and running on the Zoom platform. So we were able to move pretty seamlessly. Like a lot of lawyers got caught by surprise and they weren't able to move so seamlessly. And a lot of lawyers had a lot of problems, and I know a lot of friends of mine that ended up going out of business because of it and had to get jobs somewhere else to hold them over until the pandemic was done. So we went to the remote hearings. Let me give you an example of the improvements and how it's improved lawyering. We used to go to 5 minute motion calendar or calendar calls. The hearing would literally last just a couple minutes. Although they call it 5 minutes, that's the max time you got, but usually it was a couple minutes unless you had something, a little more complex. But you had to wait until you were called. So there may be, 50, 60 cases on the docket and you have to wait to be called. So it would take hours of standing around just waiting. And of course, that's expensive for the client. Well, now you can wait online and you can do other things while you're waiting for your case to be called. So it's not as expensive for the client. It's a big savings for the client. Now, we've done all kinds of hearings online. We've done full-blown trials online. And the difference between being in court and doing it online, there's a couple differences that I've noticed. You miss out on the court drama, and I think you're a little bit less effective doing it online than you would be in court, putting on your show in court. But I find that I can be more organized doing it online because I can spread everything out on my desk, go to the floor, and just I have sticky papers everywhere, and I have a big whiteboard in front of me with my trial outline, which helps me a lot and keeps me on track. So I think it runs a little bit more efficiently than it would be if it was in person because I'm not spending the time looking for stuff and looking around for stuff, and I can just go items one, two, three, get them into evidence and get moving along and get discussing them. Some of the bad things or some of the not so good things, again, I miss the court drama. I miss that a whole bunch. I miss being in court, seeing other lawyers, seeing the judge, seeing staff, seeing clients, and that interpersonal communication and connection is not there when it's online. But other than that, it's been good. Another thing I learned is basically since we do it mostly remote, you can lawyer from anywhere. I learned early on in the pandemic that I didn't have to be sitting at home in Miami, handling my court cases. I could be anywhere. So I took a lot of time to travel around the country. And I was representing people and appearing in cases from, all over. And it was quite interesting and quite freeing. And it gave me because the online virtual appearances freed up so much time where I wasn't having to drive to court and sit around and wait. It gave me a lot more free time to devote to my clients and my practice. And we did really well during the pandemic. As a matter of fact, during the pandemic, I had a couple of my best years yet. So it worked out pretty well, and it's continuing to work out well. Fortunately, the courts continue to hold virtual hearings for most judges will do anything up to trial. Some judges will do trial, and if you agree with the opposing party, the trials can be online. the judges will hold trials online. Some judges plainly don't like to hold trials online, but most of it, I couldn't tell you the last time I actually physically went to court on a case, and it seems now it was getting that way before the pandemic, getting this way before the pandemic, but it's even more so now. Clients don't want to come all the way down to your office. They don't want to deal with the hassles of parking downtown and having to walk to your office and spending, half a day trying to get to you and get in with your appointment and get it done. So we're able to do our client consultations via Zoom or FaceTime or any type of virtual platform that the client uses and the client's familiar with. So it's really working out, and it's really been more efficient, and it keeps the costs for clients down. They're saving a little bit of money on it. Well, actually, they're probably saving a lot of money on lawyers' fees, because a lot of lawyers' fees are by the hour, and the more efficient you could be, the less hours you bill in a case. So I hope it stays that way. I mean, it's so far it's working fine, and I'll keep practicing this way until I guess until the courts change again and the next big thing comes along. But this was a really big move for the courts. I mean, courts have been holding hearings and holding trials, in person the old way since, the beginning of our American jurisprudence. And this is a big shift for the courts, and it's a big shift for attorneys. And you see a lot of attorneys who have problems with their technology, and you can see when they show up to these hearings and stuff online and stuff, there's always certain attorneys that have problems, and they're just not as familiar with their technology. But fortunately, we don't have that issue. So that's how it's changed. So if you have any questions about the practice of law, or what it's like being a lawyer, please let me know. I'll be happy to discuss them. Thanks for taking the time to watch The Law and Life. I'm your lawyer, Patrick McGeehan, and I am your best friend at your worst time.